continue. More scrolls. The boost event is currently underway. Ooh, thank you for inspiration of a striker. We updated item lineups, which could be acquired from featured lineup. Following 5 items will be featured this time. Please try best. And I like those metal cloaks. Okay. New VR master has been added. Train under them via ninjutsu library to receive special ninjutsu and items from them. Purchase special purchase page. A new special ninjutsu is available for purchase. Combat for okay. Team Giant Snake wins. You can collect your rewards from the gift box. The World Ninja League is a full scene. Okay. Log in 3 days. Participate in the Ninja World League 15. Win the Ninja World League 15 times. Victory for our missions raised 30 scrolls. Okay. Did I get a gift box? I did get a gift box. Nice. And a couple of esoteric scrolls. What else? Change title. Gatekeeper. Gatekeeper. Chick. Copy ninja. Strong child. Title. No titles. Battle equipment. Giant Crimson Fan. And sword. Bomb. Oops. Welcome. I don't want it. Okay. Okay, go. I guess they want I have to do this now. Guys, stealing. Pretty cool clan you got yourselves there.
Now then.
I expect you've gotten accustomed to fighting by now, which means it's about time to learn how to fight like a real ninja. A real ninja. You can't just start straight at your opponent. You need to stretch strategy from one go and give it a try. Okay. Enter Hokage's estate. What do I need to do? I need to... I need to do this. It's a mission.
What'll it be?
What'll it be? Oh, okay. Super suit. Okay. Start the mission. Okay. Totally. Be alert. Be very alert.
Here, Shikamaru. Don't let your guard down. We can't fail here.
You can't fail. Alright, where are we going? Here they come. What the fuck? The fuck? What is this? Oh. Get him. Let Naruto at him. Damn it, Naruto.
Seems like the enemy's really panicking.
Really panicking.
I'll go out next. Here I go. Crush them while I hold them down.
Alright, Shikamaru, quit being fucking creepy. Bitch. Oh shit.
Watch their movements closely. You can beat
Damn, where's my... Fuck! Fuck! Fuck!
Yes! We won thanks to you, Shikamaru! Look, it wasn't just thanks to me. You won with your own strength.
It's the whole team. It's a team effort.
Yes! Now let's go eat something yummy to celebrate our success!
Barbecue. I thought I saw something I didn't think I would see.
Well done. Come back soon. Oh, hey there.
Who is that? Choji.
Do your best.
Datara appeared in the Hidden Sand training field and suddenly proclaimed he's going to put on an art exhibition, team up with Choji and destroy all dangerous, detonating clay art pieces in order to rush. I need that. I need the clay, long range explosives. I like the long range explosives. Alright, this is a little boring. I'm gonna put something on.
Pretty fucking new got a remake on the PS5, even though it was completely fucking unnecessary because graphically the game already looked great. So I'm kind of getting confused with my argument. But the other half of that is that I'm pretty sure Sony's gearing up for a PS5 Pro, and there's going to be some games that are only going to be on PS5. Final Fantasy VII Remake is only going to be on PS5, the new one that's coming out, and so is Death Stranding 2. Those are only 2 games that I can list you, but there are some, and if those matter to you at all, like it's probably like something to look at.
I guess, but then imagine how cucked you are buying a PS5 now for one of those 2 games. When how many years away are we from like the PS6? I don't know. It just seems weird. Like you're gonna buy something towards the last third of its life cycle before. Seems cringe.
It is pretty weird. But hey, considering that you're one of the few people that are probably going to be buying a PS5 just to play Final Fantasy VII Remake 2 and not wait for like 2 years for it to come on PC. We don't know. Okay, buddy, you're not gonna fucking wait.
I had 1,200 viewers when I played Final Fantasy VII Remake. Okay.
I know, but you know, people want to break from research, buddy. Okay.
Yeah. At the end of this month,
Fantasy is gonna be around that time. At the end of this month, there you go. All right, have fun, buddy. I'll come back to you, scream at you later.
Bye.
Have you come to participate in my art exhibit?
But it's a remake. Like I said, it's a From Software
Oh,
game.
this video was 2 days ago?
Well, since you came
Wait, what the fuck? If I was a viewer, I would just assume that I watched this and stole the point and then gave it on stream and pretended that I didn't do it.
Don't worry.
Well, wait, I don't even know if he's gonna agree with my point, but I might just be saying that to make it seem like I haven't watched the video. I might just be saying that last thing and this thing right now to make it seem like I haven't watched the video, because why would I admit to doing it offline and then doing it online, right? Oh shit.
Stimulation. Haha.
2009 to PlayStation 3.
Fundamentally, Demon's Souls for PS5 is what it always has been. Barring some small tweaks, the design of the game is identical to From Software's original. The core mechanics are unchanged. The enemies are placed in the same positions and behave in the same ways.
I don't like the Demon's Souls remake. I think that it's inferior to the original in every way other than graphics. I think the atmosphere is worse. I think the art...
Oh, Stefan, you're probably right. It's because you read the news on Reddit that also prompted this video, comment confounded. That's probably true, actually, because I did get that from a Reddit comment where somebody was like, they've made like 2 games exclusively for PS5. That's probably right. And then he probably watched this video or
Direction is much diminished. I think many of the changes to the music and to the enemy design misunderstand their purpose in the original.
The PS5 is trash. The design of the PS5 is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Sometimes Spider-Man Miles Morales can feel too similar to what's come before.
The core gameplay loop is pretty much the same.
Spider-Man Miles Morales' New York is largely the same as the one in 2018 Spider-Man.
The new Spider-Man game isn't really all that new. It uses the same city map, just this time there's a coating of snow, some holiday decorations, it adds a little seasonal flavor.
The game does look better on PS5, but it isn't a drastic difference. Though Miles controls pretty much exactly like Peter did in 2018 Spider-Man, so despite being a new Spider-Man, Miles doesn't actually play like a new Spider-Man.
It's being called the biggest fucking waste of your hard-earned money to come along in years. Sony's new stupid box thing.
While it's being released for the PlayStation 5, Guerrilla Games says they did most of their development on the PlayStation 4's hardware. So, if you haven't been able to snag a PS5 just yet, don't worry. Guerrilla Games says the PS4 version will not be a compromised way to enjoy your journey through the Forbidden West.
This game is indeed still cross-generation, like many
others. Is this the whole video, or does he actually say? This is Destiny tier reaction. This is Hassan tier reaction.
Sony releases here, but unlike the likes of, say, Horizon and the Forbidden West, the differences here are a little more on the subtle side.
Sony has no new games and major franchises coming this year. We do not plan to release any new major existing franchise titles next fiscal year.
It's a game so nice they built it thrice. There is something inherently inessential about it that it can't quite shake as a remake of an already fabulous remaster.
Now there's an argument to be made that The Last of Us Part 1 is too similar to the PS3 and PS4 version to be considered a remake, and part of me agrees with that sentiment. The story is identical, the level design is exactly the same, and the gameplay, apart from some quality of life improvements, is unchanged.
While the faithfulness to such a revered game is appreciated, the remastered version already fills that void, so it's hard not to wonder what Naughty Dog...
Is this because of COVID, or is the modern game industry dead? I actually think a lot of it is because of capitalism. You iterate on a formula in a new industry. So video games came out, people started to iterate on what works, people found out what works, and now there's a fuck ton of money chasing. Projects that are going to be profitable and are known to be profitable. So that's why you see a lot of innovation. But you can complain about AAA studios, but the indie game scene is thriving. There's a fuck ton of like amazing indie games out there. So it's not like all gaming is dead. It's just AAA games are probably only going to be iterating on formulas, and it's very rare that you can take a risk.
Dog could have done if they'd taken a more radical approach.
2023 was, of course, an unusually quiet year for PlayStation's first-party output, with Marvel's Spider-Man 2 being the only major release to fit that bill.
Easy.
Spider-Man
Oh
2
shit.
is not a game you should waste your money on. Not at all.
Spider-Man 2's combat is very familiar. It doesn't have that new suit smell anymore, but stand the original alongside the sequel in other ways, and it can look a bit like two Spider-Man games pointing at each other.
There's quite a bit of Marvel's Spider-Man 2 that can be summed up
Fuck.
as more of the same.
Oh boy, more old sh**.
We now have The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. Side by side suggests the two versions are a match in terms of basic image quality. The PlayStation Store description of the game also highlights improved shadow quality and texture quality, which are pretty
Destiny, not capitalism per se. I'd argue more public game studios and shareholder obligations are killing AAA games. What is shareholder obligations in publicly traded companies, if not literally the embodiment of capitalism? Isn't that what capitalism means? The ability for capital investment into companies that have to deliver profit to you without you being a worker for it. Is that literally what capitalism is? Or that must have been a troll comment. Wait, that was a meme comment. That must have been a meme comment. It must have been a meme comment.
tough to spot. The presentation of shadows appears nearly identical between the two versions.
Sony reveals the release date of the PlayStation 6, and fans go crazy. Are we talking PlayStation 6 already?
We'll do our reading. Erudite wants to come up and chat for a second. So I'm waiting for him. Play the piano piece from that video. Play the piano piece from what video?
After sales of the PlayStation
Identical of the
Like the sequel
Oh, like the sad song music?
in other ways, and it can look
Yeah.
a bit like two
done.
Spider-Man games pointing at each other.
There's quite a bit of Marvel's Spider-Man 2 that can be summed.
Oh, this is a really... I should know this chord progression. I feel like you hear it a ton.
Games pointing at each other.
There's quite a bit.
I bet Sienna or if Reacher's here, he would know. Just finish your gym so I can come to Sienna. Okay, okay. Oh my god. I rewatched the Spider-Man No Way Home movie. I didn't realize how contrived the fucking plot was for that movie. That
Demon
Doctor
Bomb.
Strange or whatever literally wants to rewrite the knowledge of the entire fucking universe because Spider-Man is sad that him and his friends didn't get into college. Oh my god. Wait, is it Doctor
Yeah, I
Strange?
know.
Doctor Time? I don't know what the fuck his name was.
Dr. Time.
Isn't it, is it not Doctor Strange? Oh no, it is. Fuck you.
Dr. Time.
If you help me get some elephant hunting practice.
Countless
in here.
enemies
Don't worry,
cited
it's not
in the
loaded.
movie
Just, oh yeah, you look perfect. Okay, now Charlie.
Because humans.
protecting your herd.
Okay.
Oh,
I need to change
I guess it
because
was
I
loaded. I
want.
didn't get you, Get that rope tub off your fucking head. All right, Narfi, help me get.
Training rank. Did I completely rank him up? Oh, just one rank.
Miles Morales Spider-Man was
Oh.
surprisingly amazing. Last 10 out of 10 movie I've seen in the last 5 years. Miles Morales Spider-Man? You're just talking about like the animated one? Or was there actually... Is that a video game? No, you said it was a movie? You're just talking about like
What?
the...
I don't understand this shit.
Into the Spider-Verse movie, right? I think you are. I didn't watch the second one. Yeah.
Got all these silver stuff. What the fuck? Okay, and now what? Okay, where is I need data. Lead dating twin birds.
5k elo yesterday. I lost 1100 elo in 2 games. Right, watch this. I'm gonna lose another 500 elo right here.
Into the Spider-Verse was a 10 out of 10. Actually, I accidentally watched the second first. Yeah, the first one is a 10 out of 10 movie. It is, yeah. It's also, it's one of those movies too where I'm glad I saw it in theaters. Really, really, really good movie to see in theaters. And that was a movie that took a little bit of risks in terms of the animation. Like that, I'm pretty sure that new animation style, like a lot of people are copying like aspects of it now too. I think that there was a, did we watch this specifically about the Spider-Verse stuff or was it something else? The idea of varying frame rates. The idea of varying frame rates to convey different feelings in like animation is really interesting. I noticed it a lot during the Last Wish.
It
was a Doodly video. It might have been. Did he use this as an example?
But I will never stop fighting for this.
Where hi. I think you see it in here. And before I made this up. Oh fuck! Wait, it's a start. Hold on, wait 1 second.
Don't fall behind. Don't worry, I won't.
Wait. I don't know if it happens here. Wait, fuck, never mind. There are parts of this movie. It might have been in the first one with the giant thing. But you can tell that they vary frame rates for like effect or whatever. That looks visually really good. This whole movie looks really good. With the interesting writing, yeah. This whole movie, this is a really good movie. It's like a 9 out of 10. I thought this is surprisingly really, really good. Holy shit. Can you what? Drink away.
Come on, Data.
Yeah, maybe. The Spider-Man movie I thought was cool because they kind of set a new standard, or they inspired a lot of people to think. Not really, actually, inspired any bullshit. Actually, I guess they just copied the Spider-Man thing.
I used to be 25k elo yesterday. I lost 1100 elo in 2 games. Right, watch this. I'm gonna lose another 500 elo right here. Watch. I already know. Just win. It's not hard. What is your elo at?
Uh-oh. Oh no. It's gonna be like 3k. I don't know what the elos are in CS2.
Guys, we are playing guns.
Why do you think that cheated?
Did I fucking miss? Oh my god, I missed everything.
Really good. How did you find the Spider-Verse 1 a 10 out of 10 and Spider-Verse 2 like the biggest movie of the year? Because I heard from people that it ends on a cliffhanger and that shit goes crazy.
Damn.
Hi.
Fuck.
Thanks. Good.
They just keep coming. This is getting fun.
My movie takes are. What's one movie that you disagree with? Oh my god. Did you actually like that movie? I already gave him my arguments, okay? My arguments is that Nolan is petrified of letting any of the actors actually act on screen, and instead he has to aggressively cut the fuck and aggressively edit every scene so you feel like you're on the edge of your seat, even for normal dialogue from literally start to fucking finish. And he's either putting interstitials of like exploding fucking lights, or when there's dialogue there also has to be music playing at the same time, and every single person is speaking like they're trying to do Marvel one-liners, and even the emotional stuff can't be given enough time because there's a cut to dialogue in the next scene where you even got like, it's just so aggressively edited and paced. It's like, Jesus Christ, chill. That's the feeling I got through. You can call it overstimulated, but it's way too aggressively cut. And I feel like I feel like Nolan has always historically had problems handling emotion, but I feel like for Oppenheimer, it was way too much. Like, it just felt like there were so many scenes of like, oh, awesome! Like like when you see Einstein for the time, like, oh, that's awesome! Or when like Strauss is in Congress and like, there's this young senator, Rodney Kennedy, or whatever the fuck, and it's like, oh. I totally disagree. I don't think no one knows how to do subtlety. I completely disagree. I think it was all over the top. I think it was cringe. I agree, but I don't think that Nolan shows that ever in his movies. I just don't think so. But, you know, someday we're going to rewatch this together on Kick.
Let's do it.
Just trying to troll you.
I'm not going to fight with you over this because I don't obviously have like clips prepped of.
Like 3K. I don't know what the yellows are in CS2.
Guys,
I guess I see passive aggression as like fundamentally more socialized feminine. So when I say feminine, obviously I understand that men can be feminine, blah blah blah, all the like caveat. But I see like how our society views the feminine. Passive aggression falls into there, which I think in large part, like if a space, in my mind, if a space represents what our society calls a femininity, is going to naturally make probably most likely women and more feminine people feel most comfortable because they're probably drawn to that, they're socialized into that, blah 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 blah.
Okay.
Do you agree?
That's a take. I don't think I agree though.
Okay.
I think that if women are drawn to it, I don't think it's because of passive aggressiveness. Like I think that even if these people were to be like,
I don't think it's passive aggression alone. Just to be clear.
Sure.
Yeah.
That might be a factor maybe.
I think in general this space captures more like what we would call feminine traits within it. Even the way that they talk about
that
things.
might be true.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
sure. That might be true. Yeah.
And so including when they do get combative or aggressive, it tends to express in like a passive aggressive way as well.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Back to this.
Yeah, and then for the more combative and like internet like dick wavy and confrontational spaces, I think that this tends to skew way more heavily masculine.
Yes.
Yes. With some exceptional carve-outs for subject matter. Subject matter, I think, could influence things quite a bit. So, for instance, for red pill audiences, it wouldn't surprise me if it started to skew more female than not, just because the subject matter is so related to women, because obviously it's about women, right? Or if there was like a really combative
like
makeup
topics.
reviewer, they would probably have, or whatever, like online or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, so in part, but the topics that you cover aren't inherently masculine, except for I would say the red pill stuff, obviously.
Correct.
So then the question is,
Sigh.
you cover electoral politics and foreign politics a lot, and yet, how do we make
people who are being
first point that you said for who should the responsibility be on?
Hey, this is
feminine traits?
It's like kind of
this is the
so maybe the answer to that is an indication of the internet revealing that they were fighters. Hamas released source, you retarded fuck. The question was, if you take a civilian and you make them do what had been used in Gaza,
like, are you able to move on because
civilians present for it to be considered? So then maybe an empty civilian house wouldn't be. I think that would be, maybe that would be a violation of a different rule then, but that wouldn't fall under the Rule 97. I think that would fall under a different that would probably fall under a different rule. I'll find it later. I don't remember which one I saved it.
Rule.
I wonder if you pretended to hide things where civilians were, or if you had fake civilians. Like if you say there's a bunch of civilians there, would that count as human shields if they weren't actually? Like let's say you stored munitions in a building. You said there are 400 civilians living there right now, but they weren't there, so there were no civilians present. Where's Urk at? Would that count as human shields? I have no idea. Let's see. Let's find the customary international humanitarian law. What would it be? Responsibility to protect. What would the name of the? Would this come under the principle of distinction or?
Time to test my strength.
I should have this saved. It's a really important one. This is literally rule 1. We will save this actually.
This is your own shit, Data.
JLP break. Sure, fuck it.
I'm 15% gay.
Neither it wouldn't surprise me, and neither would I care. That's your problem, not mine.
15%. Is that better than 100%? Jesse, don't make it seem like I'm bringing it up out of nowhere. You talk about gayness all the time.
I talk about everything all the time.
Well,
My show is about whatever. My radio show is about whatever the people call in for. And the Father State, we deal with different issues.
Can you be?
But do you have like? Are you able to move on because of time? Do you have like?
No, I have all the time in the world, but I understood you only had an hour, right?
Right, and I'm talking about my time.
So how much time do you have left? Because
And the gay thing is a rare topic on my show.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: you're not gay, right?
That's not your business.
Oh. But you make the gayness a lot of people's business.
Oh no.
No, I don't. I make it no one's business. Do you want to act like a man?
Do you live in hell?
Do you want to act
Do you live in
like
hell?
a man? Or do you want to? Hey, look. I put aside my time. I thought you wanted to deal with issues to help folks. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Because
Yes.
I don't want to play the woman's game with you.
So, well, let me ask you this, because I know
Do you have any other topic? One last time. You can talk to your brother-in-law Moses about this, and he'll help you deal with that and overcome it.
Yeah. Jesse, why did you like this? Why did you like this tweet by Your Daddy
Or
OnlyFans?
forgive your mother. Forgive your mother.
He's giving a thumbs up.
She will.
Jesse, why did you like this post from Your Daddy OnlyFans, Part 2 with Sean Boy UK?
I have no idea
It's
what that
two
is.
men kissing,
I have no idea.
and they're
what
muscular
that
and very
is.
fair.
They really think that you're like running the Twitter and stuff. Like,
I have no idea.
Really? Wait, why wouldn't you be running your Twitter?
So why did you?
you really think he would?
Are you?
Yeah, why-
Is
why
the
do you think
producer?
he is?
What makes you think he is?
Oh, so did you like it? Yeah, did you like it? Are you gay?
I don't know anything. I have no idea.
Bro thought he was cooking
Well,
right
Jesse,
there.
this is important. The people want to know. Your producer got real quiet. What, did he like the gay porn?
Self-report.
It was one of you two. Someone fess up.
They're hanging up.
Someone fess up.
That's what you want me to do, so you can say I ran. But you guys said you wanted to talk about real stuff.
This is real, man.
Jesse,
This is a real tweet that was liked.
Jesse, in an expose by the Daily Beast, they said that several men had sexual encounters with you, some as long as 10 years. Is that true?
Say hello to Moses, buddy. I'm out.
All right.
Was your producer?
Oh, he hung up.
All right.
Well, you tried.
He really hates gay people. Like, really hates gay people. He kind of, I think he got a sniff of what we were doing when I mentioned something about gayness in the top. It's so funny all of a sudden we want to talk about it. Yeah. It's like a good 30% of everything he discusses.
Yes.
Is like gayness.
Damn it.
And evil is another one. So it's so funny all of a sudden you don't want to talk about it. He liked that shit. You could tell.
He
I'm pretty sure. Who was he like? The Rock. He's not managing his Twitter account.
Why was his producer so quick to be like, no, it was me?
Maybe
That's
he's
what he said.
Maybe he's gay. Maybe his producer's affirmative action. I mean, it could be. Yeah, affirmative action hire. You're right.
Go back to what I think it's called.
Is it? A little more.
How long have you been talking for?
Okay. Shall I let him in?
Let us begin.
Okay. Here we go.
Alright, don't worry. I'm gonna disclose.
Good.
To be honest.
Hello, test. Jesse, are you there?
Damn it. Again?
Coming very quiet. Jesse, can you hear me?
I hear you, but it's not loud enough on my end.
Okay. Go ahead. Is it on your guys' side or our side?
It's outside.
Okay. No worries.
Just one moment.
Where the fuck is my data?
LP show. Wonderfully framed. You said that. And you're right, Dan. Right on time. Hey, Jesse. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Damn.
Can you turn him up a little bit?
Yeah, we're cranking it. You have it all the way up?
Yeah, he's coming in very.
Complete the mission as I fucking die.
One moment.
Turned up here. Yeah, I'm turned up all the way. Maybe just give it a little more gain on that channel.
Yeah. Okay, that should do it better now.
Hello, Jesse. How do we?
Yes, sir.
There we go. That's much better. We can hear you now.
Good. So how we doing? How we doing? Are you live? Are you doing your show right now? Or are you just calling into ours?
No, I'm just on yours.
Yeah.
My show is in the mornings.
Okay. We're live, so
Okay.
It's what it is. But you're a radio man. You know about live broadcasts.
Are we on right now?
Yes, we are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So thanks for calling. I've been a somewhat, you might say, a fan. I love the way you interview people, although I'll be upfront with you. I'm a lib. You might call me a beta male.
What a beta?
Yeah. Right.
Good.
So
How is Moses doing?
are you, that's like, I don't know which way to take that.
Wow.
You
Who's
mean like
Moses?
Moses the prophet or like Moses my brother-in-law?
Moses, your brother-in-law.
How do you know Moses? Why would you even ask that?
Everybody know Moses.
What is the reference?
Even God knows Moses.
Wait, why did you ask me that?
Because I just wonder how you're doing. I haven't seen him in a minute.
Wait, stop. Why did you ask me how's Moses?
Because I haven't seen him in a minute, so I just wonder how he was
You
doing.
know, so you've seen Moses.
Oh, yeah.
What do you-
Everybody know Moses.
So you're talking about the prophet.
No, I'm talking about your
Big
brother-in-law.
personal drama. Okay.
You've already got me all twisted up. This is what I'm saying. You've got this interview skills that just, you've already got me discarded.
Hey,
All right,
why
Jesse.
is that?
What?
Why you just got about asking how he was doing?
Trisha
You
paid
don't
like,
know
I don't
my
know anything about
brother-in-law.
like frenemies or Trisha.
Well, how would I know to ask him about him then?
But
Oh
then how
my
do you know
God.
him?
He got married, right?
Oh, stop it.
I know what's going on.
Who did he get married to?
Some crazy woman. I was surprised that Moses married a crazy woman because he seemed to have more common sense than that.
So I don't know what's happening. I don't know if there's a producer that knows all this stuff that's feeding you lines. How did you meet Moses?
He came to my office.
To do what?
It's a
can't
slight
tell
dig
you
at his
all
personal
that.
family being broken up over Trisha marrying
here
him. The
for a
siblings
meeting.
literally don't speak anymore. Gotcha. Okay.
Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing. So Jesse, let's just get into it because I understand you only have an hour. You have a show called The Fallen State, correct?
Right.
So what is the fallen state? What does that mean?
The Father State is really a show of different conversations. And what I realized is that human beings are in a fallen state, and they live in their imagination, which is hell, and that their nature is evil. And that's why they treat each other, though we're all created in God's image, they treat each other, I don't anymore, but
if
they
we're
treat
created-
each other like hell, like the lack of love, because they're living in the darkness of their imagination. They're
But
in a
if-
fallen state and don't know it.
Try that
He says
shit.
that we're created in God's image.
Oh yeah, I gotta do the
Right.
It seems that you're maybe a little
Yeah, their
insulting
mission.
to God because you've just said that his image is
Oh my
his
God.
imagination is hell.
But no, they're not living. They have been turned away from the Father, so they're not living from His.
They're
image.
turned away
That's
from
why
the
we must be born
Father.
again. We must return to the Father.
But do they
all
have a?
who,
do
all
they-
who
What the
are born of the
fuck?
woman is living in hell because they have anger. They have
What
their
is you
mother's
talking
nature,
about,
and so
dog?
their nature is evil. But when they return to the
Nature
Father,
is
then their
evil?
nature returns to good.
I see. So
Their
women's nature's evil.
Yes, because
My
Satan is the woman's God. The God
Satan
above,
is woman's God.
Yeah,
the
but the
fuck?
God above is the man's God,
Yeah.
and the God below is the woman's God.
Let's go.
That's why all who are born through the woman born into hell.
Are you for real?
He's
sorry?
for
Do you
real.
believe that for real?
Without a doubt, how do you think you became angry?
I'm not angry.
You don't have anger?
I'm an alpha male.
You don't have anger?
I get angry sometimes. Does that mean that
How
my
did-
mom is the devil?
I'm sorry?
My mom
It seems
is the
kind of
devil.
reductive to say, "Oh, you've been angry," which is a common human emotion. Everybody's felt it at one time or another. Anyone who's lived, and to say that it's the because your mother is a Satanist or something like that.
She's a
And you're
Satan.
right.
Hail
Every
Satan.
human being are are born into hell, and that's why we must be born again of the Father. You know, God said there
Born
will
of
come a
the
day when I
Father.
return the children to the Father.
Alright,
and
what
the
do I
Father to
do?
the
For
children.
that,
Every
lurking
human
around
being
here somewhere,
must be
we
born of
need
the
to
Father
find
in order to
him.
have perfect
Okay.
peace, in order to live on this earth in perfect peace.
Can a
But you gotta-
woman live a righteous life if their God is the devil? Do they have a shot?
Absolutely.
They can. So what do they
Their
need to do to
God
live a
is
righteous
the
life?
devil.
They too have to do as the man
All
has
right.
to do.
What am
They
I
have
supposed to do,
forgive their
Si?
mothers
Oh, I'll go over
for
there.
imposing her will on them and turning them away from their fathers and recreating them in her image. And
Ooh.
once they forgive their mother,
Yeah.
don't ask for
Take
forgiveness, but
that.
forgive her
Cocaine.
for what she
Get him with the
cannot help it.
bullets.
What if
And
your mom
once they
didn't do
forgive
anything
their
wrong?
mother, once they forgive their mothers, then they forgive their fathers for not protecting them from the mother. He shouldn't handle her because he married to his mama. You become
Wait,
attracted
what
to
if your
you
mom didn't do anything wrong? What if
Sometimes
you have a
I
nice
wanna
mom
go.
who's
Can I
great
get up on
and
the
she didn't
dragon?
do anything?
That
Great.
doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Oh,
No.
can't stay
There's-
up on it, can I?
Good. So
Base.
what
Oh,
are
it'd be
the
so
sins
fucking
of the
cool if
mother?
I could
What
just
are
stay
they?
up on him.
Is anger,
Get him.
jealousy, envy, strife.
But you feel
revenge.
all that.
I'm sorry?
But you feel all those emotions. That's not a feminine emotion.
No, it's a mother's emotion. It is a feminine emotion because Satan is a feminine spirit.
But you feel anger, right?
No,
He
I never
feels
feel
anger?
anger. I
You have
did-
never felt anger.
No, I didn't say I never have felt it. I did 30-something years ago. But when I forgave my mother who resented my father and tried to turn me away from him, God forgave me, and he took that spirit away. So I don't feel anger anymore.
Well, I'm very happy for you. But my mom, and how dare you speak about my mother like that, Jesse? I'll have you
How
know she's a
dare
great
you?
lady.
How dare you?
Man, you really hate your mom, don't you?
No, I love my mother now,
didn't
but all children hate their mothers. And that
What?
until
Crazy,
they-
because you know the famous psychological analysis by the great Sigmund Freud says the opposite. Kids want to fuck their mothers. Where you're fucking that.
They do because you do want to F the person you hate.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Oh.
Kids want to
You become
fuck their
attracted to the
mothers.
person that you hate.
Are you attracted to your mother? Were you
No,
attracted?
I don't hate my mother anymore.
Oh, okay. When you hated her, were you
If
attracted to her?
you notice in your life, every woman you get involved with, just like your mother, you couldn't handle her because you never overcame your mother.
Oh, shit.
You were-
Oh,
you're
wasn't
still
prepared.
attracted to that same spirit.
You are
When you were
not
angry at your mom, were you
prepared.
sexually attracted to her?
Not her, but women like her. It was
Oh,
the same
okay.
spirit.
Okay.
What the fuck? Did he
Let's go back
silence
to the,
me?
To the top here, so we could go down this rabbit hole forever. So let me ask you about: are you married?
Come on, dragon, shoot some bullets at him.
Do you have children?
I do. I have a son.
Beta. Only one son?
I
Beta.
made a son first.
Oh my god.
You only have
Beta
one
males
son.
Make,
But
beta
you're-
males make girls first. Alpha males make boys first.
Hold on, Jesse. You're telling
What?
me you had a child out of wedlock? Beta.
That's true. Then I was in a fallen state. You're
Oh,
absolutely
okay.
right. But then
He
I
was
have
in a
two
fallen
grandkids,
state.
adult grandkids now, and then two great
Fuck.
grandkids with one on the way.
Really?
Why were you never
Who
married?
the fuck
Jesse?
is
That
this
seems like
asshole?
A great, frankly, in your line of work, and with your values, it seems like that would be a real shortcoming of yours that you're single.
Nothing?
Why
Really?
is that?
Well, don't you live for family values, good Christian family values?
You can live for them without having to be married. Jesus never married. God wasn't married. Paul wasn't married.
Fuck.
But yet they still for those values.
So then, well, let me put it this way. I have 3 boys.
Jesus.
And I'm married.
Wait, Ethan has 4
Nice.
children?
I'm alpha as fuck.
All the way.
Right. Okay, good. I wanted to get that out there. I couldn't sit here with you calling me beta. I was crumble. I couldn't deal with it. You've said...
Let's go.
But I
Get
hope
this
you're not
bitch
offended when I do
ass.
say you are kind of beta.
Fuck.
No, I'm not offended by that at all.
Okay, good. Because you are.
Thank you.
Oh, good.
You are. You're
You
definitely
have
beta.
said previously that you are afraid of
Fuck. Oh god.
affirmative action policy.
Did I get him? And I'm
What do you
still
mean
on
by
the side of the fucking wall?
Affirmative
Oh, I
action
got up
set
somehow. Okay.
In order to keep
Did he turn into a bridge? Oh Oh.
and dependent on government.
No, he didn't turn into the
and
bridge.
not ever growing and becoming their best in their talent and what they can do. And so what it does is discriminate against the ones who earn their way, and it gives it to those who do not earn their way. And it's just not right. It's evil.
Not the
it's
way.
It's wrong for the person that they're giving it to who are not earning their way. And it's also wrong against the people who are earning their way. It's just not, it's an evil plan. It's not working at all. It's causing nothing but confusion.
And so what crucial occupations do you think is being overrun with affirmative
Who am I
action?
fucking killing again now?
People that's harming the industry.
Oh, I thought it was done.
Well, nowadays it's everything really. We just heard a report that I talked about on my show. They're hiring air traffic controllers and pilots and things like that, and these people are not qualified. And they are getting rid of the white the white people who are qualified, and they're putting the unqualified people there. And you see it in the military. They're even talking now about doing it in the medical field.
Does he actually believe this? He's been saying the same shit for like fucking
without earning their way.
like 30 or 40 years.
Is it
So
not good for the individual themselves, but it's not good for the country.
How can I, as somebody who's trying to identify affirmative action where things are vulnerable, how do I identify an affirmative action person?
Fucking missed.
In a spot that they shouldn't be.
Well, you can see, you can question them about did they
Can
earn
I-
their way, but you can see in the way that they operate, they do not operate at their best.
Are you an affirmative action radio host?
I'm not.
How do I know?
That's the problem with it, and you're right about that. You make a good point, because now that the blacks are getting affirmative action and reparation and all that for so many years, you do have black men and women who are earning their way. But how would you know, since you know affirmative action is set up for the black?
Oh, he's still out.
It's like Justice Clarence Thomas, for example. He earned his way. He worked hard.
He earned
came
his
from
fucking
a
way.
tough background. But because he's black, it's hard for anyone to accept that he's earned his way because he's black. So everybody just assumes
black.
That the blacks are not earning their way. They're a part of the affirmative action program.
So that's possible.
So it really does a bad job for all the blacks.
I'll make this quick.
What about like white nepo
This
babies who
lickety
are born into
split.
tremendous wealth and privilege, and they can pretty much skate into any field, any kind of job that they want because maybe their parents have leverage and they know people and all this. Isn't that, in a sense, as dangerous as affirmative action, or perhaps even more?
Damn it.
What kind of baby?
Nepotism babies.
What's that?
Nepotism is when you get favored treatment because of a family member.
There's nothing wrong with that. That always happens in society.
But don't you think that putting
it
out...
even happens,
But if they're not qualified...
It even happens in the black society. You have family members who know someone that knows someone. It's common sense that they're going to refer you.
Right, but if you're at like Harvard Law, you're gonna get fast-tracked into one of these big law firms. And maybe you're not good. Maybe you're not even good at school. Maybe your father just bought like a wing at Harvard University.
Get him off me.
I don't want that guy as my attorney, do you?
I mean, I'm not against personal referrals.
Right.
I don't agree with affirmative action based on color.
Get off.
So what about affirmative action for Native Americans?
Damn it.
For the Indians?
Yeah.
Damn.
Those are the ones.
That is affirmative action shouldn't be for anyone. The Indians need to put down the pot.
Oh.
They call it coyote or something. They need to put down coyote and get up and earn from the top. The beauty about life, if you are an individual, you think
So you gotta beat the snake, or what the fuck am I fighting here?
in life that can stop you. And America, when I was growing up, was that way. And now it has been, individuality has been deemed to be something bad. And there's this group thinking now. And so the group is always in a pitiful, I can't make it, needed mode. That's why I believe that we must return to being individuals, one nation under God.
But Jesse,
in order to make America
you participate in group-think.
What do you mean?
Well, you're part of a movement, the manosphere, right? The conservative online movement about teaching young men that everything is not their fault. It's the world's fault that they're not successful. That, you know, they're gay because they hate their mom or whatever.
Oh my god. This is like
I'm
20
not
minutes
part of
more.
any movement.
Well, why do I hear so many people saying that's going to start?
I don't know. I started Bond 34 years ago, and I didn't know anyone at the time, but I started because I realized, and at that time I realized that the blacks were suffering because they had been turned away from their fathers.
Son of a bitch.
And the Democrats and others were telling it, also the so-called civil rights leaders were telling the blacks that they were suffering because of racism. And I knew that was a lie, so I started BARM, my nonprofit, Rebuilding the Man, the Brotherhood Organization of a New Destiny.
Even during Jim Crow, that racism was a lie?
Let me just finish this. To encourage blacks to not fall for the lie that some white man can hold them back, right? And so I started BARM 35 years ago. And I wasn't, and still am not a part of any movement, but just to encourage the men and women to return back to the Father.
So,
what were you saying about Jim Crow?
You're saying even back then there was no such thing as racism?
Right. No
even
such
Jim
thing.
Crow.
Right.
That's not racist to say that black people need to drink from a different fountain.
No.
No.
As a matter of fact, I grew up, as you know, under the Jim Crow laws, and black and white got along better back then than they do today. Because back then,
wasn't the KKK like hanging? And sorry to be uncouth, but I'm pretty sure the KKK was like killing black people back then.
What?
They were just like, right? Like, I mean, they were just doing that. I don't know.
No, that's
lynching.
not true.
There was lynching and stuff happening back then. You don't see
That's
those
not
things.
true. That's not true.
Oh, so what's the truth about the KKK?
First, let me tell you about the Jim Crow.
Okay.
During those days, the blacks worked for themselves. They had families. They had fathers and mothers and grandparents. And they worked for themselves, and they taught their children to work. And they taught their children to treat people the way that they would like to be treated. And then the whites did the same thing. They too taught their children to work and be independent and to treat people the way they would like to be treated. And as a result, the blacks bought land. They had trade. They bought, if they wanted to go to a trade school or college, they went and did that. And they came back as professionals. And they didn't have false leaders. Someone leaded them. God was the head of the family, and the father was the head of the wife and the children. And so it wasn't until the civil rights movement came along, no such thing as civil rights, by the way, but when the civil rights movement started, it started.
But Jesse, if Jim Crow happened, if that was still in place, you wouldn't be talking to me now.
You don't know that. Why would I?
Because everything was segregated. As a white man, probably, I'm not. You know what? I was one of the good ones. I would have never gone there. But however, there'd be people saying, "No, don't talk to a white man."
That's not true.
No.
Because even under the Jim Crow law, black and white people talk to one another. If they wanted to talk, they got along. Those who wanted to get along. But you have to realize you have evil people, and there are some people who return to good.
Let me hit you with a stat. Between 1882 and 1986. Now you were born in 1949, so you were probably in your 20s, somewhere in this time frame at the end of it. There was 4,743 lynchings that occurred in the United States during that time period. Is that racist?
I don't even know if that number is true, because you have to realize that the human heart is wicked, and that the people make up numbers in order to get what they want.
Why won't you admit that hanging black people is racist?
I'm sorry?
Why won't you admit that hanging black people is racist?
Oh, because it's not. If that was happening, it was evil. Our battle is a battle
Well,
between.
no, they were like, well, the KKK is like, we hate black people, and so we're gonna hang them. They say that. They actually said that. They're like, this is, and so that's not racist.
No, it's hatred. It's either good or evil.
Does racism exist? Is racism real?
You're asking me a lot of questions. Calm down.
Go.
You're not letting me answer.
Hold on,
You're not letting me answer the ones you're asking.
This
you're
is
not
how you interview
asking,
people.
and before I can answer, you run to something else.
Go ahead.
And so
I'll give you space.
we're not finalizing any conversation.
Massive fireball towards the target. The fireball comes large.
Amazing.
I'm sorry, Jesse.
Multiple
Go ahead. I'm
targets.
trying to
Let's
interview like you
go.
interview people.
That's not how I interview.
Are you sure?
Creates a clone made out of clay, allowing the user to switch out and
I'm a
escape
big fan.
from
I know how
an
you
enemy. The
interview.
clone that explodes, dealing damage to
According
target.
to
Yeah.
Wikipedia, 1,000 plus white people were lynched. Was that racist?
It could have been, it depending on
Why?
the situation.
No. Racism is a made-up word. The word racist is a made-up word to cover
It's a
up
made-up
evil.
word?
And in order to divide and conquer. When I was growing up in Alabama, there was no such word as racism. It was either right. It was either right
All
or
words are
wrong,
made-up
good
words.
or evil. There's no such thing as racism.
Chooses as a football
So
asked
racism
by
it
a
just
food
means
stall
evil.
owner
That
to
again,
find
that seems reductive. I mean, there's different.
a streamer that got dropped somewhere in the village during
No meaning.
Do words have any meaning?
searching encounters of
No
thugs who
words don't
have
mean
their
anything.
eyes on the
Not at
reward,
all.
helping
Oh, man.
people.
How are we gonna pin you down on
enjoy her
anything?
and
What are you doing then? What are you talking about?
What do you mean?
That a
Well,
maid?
your words don't have meaning.
Right.
Well, how can you say that?
Because it's true. I mean,
But you're
practical
talking to me.
words-
Based, it's true.
Practical words have meaning.
Based, it's true.
Practical words have meaning because you know what you're gonna have for dinner. Your wife might ask you, "What do you want for dinner?" or "What type of house you want to buy?" But those are practical words. We don't live by those words. And words,
This is
those
OB
other
rank.
words are only used to keep people down, in order to
Still
control
D
them
rank.
for personal gain.
But that doesn't mean they don't exist.
God's voice is a voiceless voice.
Okay.
And the voice of evil is a voice that you hear in your
Voice
head
of
that sound like
evil.
you. And they're always lies all the time.
All the time.
All thoughts,
Liars.
all
of them.
All thoughts are all lies all the time.
All lies, all the time.
All the time.
Jeez, man, that sounds like you're in a
Except-
prison. You're in a hell of your own making, man.
Except for practical thought. And you're right. People who live in their who live in their thoughts.
But everybody thinks.
Those who believe thoughts are living in hell, in their own
Interesting,
hell
wow.
within themselves.
Very interesting.
Just think about a thought that there are people who are committing suicide because a thought told them to commit suicide.
This is fucking.
Okay. So.
Santa.
Oh.
Wow. Hi. What's up?
Nothing much. Been pretty busy lately. How about you? I
Pretty
see you've
busy
done a
lately.
bunch of debates.
I see a
about
bunch
the
of
Gaza
debates.
question.
Yeah, I'm praying for one more big one at the end of the month, and then I'm done. Well, I don't know if I'm done, but that's my big one, and then I'm taking a break next month from reading and research, from boring stuff.
I understand that. Is this topic the topic you have done the most research?
Fuck.
For my entire fucking life. Yeah, probably.
Well, I was about to say your streaming career, but fair
Well,
enough.
I mean, before that, what else was there? Yeah. I didn't do shit for school, so.
Oh, yeah, true. I mean, you went to college, right?
Listen, I wasn't a studier in school, okay?
Okay. All right. Well, I see in your screen you've done a bunch of research in international humanitarian law.
Yeah, I know all of it now, okay? So whatever criticisms you have, I'm fucking ready for it.
Good, great.
Yeah, I read two papers relating to international law. I don't remember what your first take or I kind of remember it. Here, this is where I was, okay? This has been my journey, okay? So initially, I thought that like international law seems kind of dumb and pointless. And then I learned a little bit of international law, and I'm like, okay, well maybe there are certain ways to hold people accountable. And then I read more international law, and then I kind of talked to you, and then I feel like, okay, well actually it is like really complicated and pointless. But now my feeling is, I actually feel like international law is in a pretty solid spot, and that there's a ton of different like overlap between different types of international law, such that asking like hyper-specific questions of like, well, who's the signatory to this or that or that or that doesn't really matter, because international humanitarian law, like customary law, covers so many different bases, and that more or less like people are playing on the same field. There might just be hyper-specific questions about like who could be held accountable in a particular ICC case, but more or less there's a similar set of rules that most people are playing by, and there's really good rationale for a lot of these rules. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary. I would say this is more true about a regime like the international humanitarian law regime, which is held to be by everyone one of the keystones of modern international law, since it has to do with, you know, closely related to human rights law, and truly, at least morally important issues.
Easy.
Other areas, state consent is still paramount. Like if you're dealing with whatever investment law or
Sure, yeah. Oh, sorry, yeah. I'm dealing generally with international humanitarian law, and then the subset like law of armed conflict. Sometimes these are used interchangeably, but those are the like areas that I'm focused on right now, more so than like economic trade or anything like that.
For sure. And I think there's the last time we spoke, perhaps now I'm going to repeat a little bit the same thing I said. Perhaps it makes more sense to you now. One big issue we have when we talk about international law is most people have the basic paradigm or scheme of national law, like domestic law, in their heads, where there's a clearly defined role for a legislature and then an executive, and then there's a judiciary that applies the laws, and everyone knows what the system is and what are the consequences to the violation, even if not all breaches are found, someone is found to be in breach, and not all breaches are carry a sanction, and not all sanctions are applied. Generally, the system works. And when you apply these expectations to international law, of course you come out with like, is it a joke? Which I think that was part of your initial reaction, right?
Yeah, a little. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I guess the big thing that I was focused on was like, what are the enforcement mechanisms? But I guess when I look at like international law now, especially customary international humanitarian law or like law of armed conflict, these broad things, I guess what I'm looking at is basically if somebody is in violation of any of these things, it kind of opens up rights to another state to do things to that country that, but it's okay given we all agree that there are certain international law breaches, even if there's no conviction. So for instance, let's say that let's say right now that we have European allies that say we're going to sanction, or let's say the UN decides we're going to sanction Israel. Doing that out of nowhere, I imagine Israel would probably fight this pretty vigilantly in the UN, and a lot of member states might have issues and blah, 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 blah. But if a bunch of people come to an agreement, or it's very obvious that Israel, citing violation of, these many rules or these many parts of the Geneva Convention or whatever, that they violated these things, now we sanction you. Because that's not coming out of nowhere, it hurts Israel's ability to retaliate, and it gives a strong foundation for another country to pursue those actions without the world court or like every other country in the world looking at it and be like, why are you doing this for no reason, basically.
Yeah, and the problem, of course, is that is still too much of a, let's say, political decision, because it's not a judiciary organ that takes this decision impartially and just taking account of the facts. It's still states deciding to impose sanctions, and what is the severity of those sanctions, and when and in which cases. Like, for instance, there have been very serious conflicts aside from Israel and Gaza, and perhaps sanctions are not symmetric in those cases. So of course there's a lot of questions about that, but for me, what distinguishes international law from just international niceties, so it's sometimes we call niceties international comity, you find this like awkward word used, or the distinction between international law and just a social norm, right? So something that people expect other people to do, but it is not really a legal norm, right? Is that whenever someone, Russia, Israel, North Korea, in some instances, does something that is ostensibly in breach of an international norm,
Demon
they
Wind
will never
Shuriken.
say publicly, "Oh well, yes, but fuck international law."
Ooh,
They will
pretty
say either A, I haven't breached international law, or B, I have, but in reality, I was doing it because it was otherwise justified, or etc.
Sure.
So even the countries that most often flaunt
Sin
international
bone.
law play
4
the game
seconds, 7
of
seconds.
asserting the validity of international law when breaching it, which sounds like a paradox, but is almost like a reinforcing mechanism.
Sure,
so
yeah.
for customer international law, it's interesting because, as you know, the way that customer international law is formed is practice plus opinio juris, right? You've come to that part.
Practice
Or
plus what? Say that again.
opinio juris, it's a Latin phrase, means it's not only that you're engaging in the practice, but also that you're engaging in the practice because you have the belief that
Oh, that you ought to conduct yourself in one somewhat, yeah. So it
Yes,
might not
exactly.
be like an internationally codified thing in a convention, but you might find that a lot of states just conduct warfare this way. You might find a lot of local legal manuals, maybe like a U.S. Army manual or a Swedish Army manual that references certain practices. Yeah, a bunch of things like these kind of come together to form, yeah, the foundation of, or even there could actually even be. So for instance, one thing I used to say is like Israel isn't party to, and the United States isn't party to the additional protocol 1 or 2. For the Geneva Conventions, but if basically the entire world is, and if everybody kind of agrees on these things, it doesn't really matter. A lot of AP1 ends up becoming part of the customary international humanitarian law regardless. So, yeah, yeah.
But there are two requirements for a norm to become a customary international norm,
Okay.
basically. One is that enough states do it. So we generally ask for the practice to be homogeneous, meaning the practice of one state must be similar enough to the practice of the other state. So the content of the thing they are doing must be similar enough. And second, it should be generalized, like not necessarily universal, but many states should do it, right?
Yeah.
The other requirement is, as I was saying, opinio juris. So they are doing it because they believe it is compulsory. So for instance, are you familiar with like naval salutes, like when war vessels that are not at war cross paths with each other? It's kind of a custom to kind of shoot a salvo into the air out of courtesy.
Oh, I didn't know that, but okay.
Yeah, that is a practice, and states follow it, but it's not customary international law because they don't follow it out of a sense of legal obligation.
Mitsuki.
Right, so that's a key difference. So you have to prove that it is being practiced, and that the states that do it, they do it because they believe it is compulsory.
Okay.
So that's the legal definition. So even those states that do not engage in the in the custom, they kind of sometimes reinforce the custom when they say, I'm doing it, but I shouldn't be, or they try to hide it, or they try to justify it, right? Because if they really believe this is not a customary rule of international law, they should be like upfront, no, there's no norm prohibiting this.
Sure.
You know, it's like the phrase, the exception that confirms the rule.
Sure.
It appears to not make sense, but if everyone holds an exception to be an exception, therefore there must be a rule. Otherwise, the word exception wouldn't make sense in the context.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my main logic. And in our first conversation, it was like, what is the difference then between international law and just a social norm or a pattern that is repeated out of courtesy or yeah, like a custom in the colloquial sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So for instance, in the Omar Badar debate, you kind of waved off a lot of UN General Assembly resolutions and human rights treaty bodies resolutions, and you were like, yeah, that's not binding, which is true, like in a formalistic sense, but it informs how those customs are identified, like whether there is a custom or not, international courts take those resolutions into account? And B, even if you have a norm, how do you interpret the words in the norm, which is super important.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? So here's a couple questions I'm curious. So firstly, this is just kind of like a specific question. You have to go too deep into this. A lot of the in some of the papers I've read, and in some of a lot of the customary international law I've read, it seems like people like to cite very recently to large tribunals, obviously because it gives us like a guide to see how this stuff works in practice. For the Yugoslavian tribunal, why did they make a separate one of those instead of just trying that case in the ICJ? What's the purpose of that? I thought the whole point of the ICJ was that we didn't have to make tribunals anymore.
So the ICJ is a court where only states might appear. Arguably, some international organizations could theoretically appear, but they don't, as parties, I mean.
Okay.
So you couldn't try individuals before the ICJ.
Okay, gotcha. So the criminal tribunal was for individuals. Why not just try them in the ICC then?
Because it didn't exist back then. So
oh wait, how recent is the ICC?
It was created in '98, and its jurisdiction began in '02.
Gotcha.
So it was created before it had jurisdiction. So there was no agreement before then, partially because of the Cold War and stuff, to create an international tribunal to try individuals for international crimes, which international crimes only individual persons are subject to, right? For instance, so Israel is being sued before the ICJ by South Africa, but not because of the crime of genocide, but because of the alleged breach of the prohibition of genocide. But a crime is something only an individual person can be held responsible to. So if an Israeli named individual with a name and a surname would be, let's say, brought before an international court for the crime of genocide, that would have to be the ICC.
Okay, yeah, gotcha.
Not the ICJ, yeah. So back then, back in the 90s, when Soviet Union fell, and suddenly there was way more, let's say, political capital, and the international climate was more favorable towards that. And both the Yugoslav wars happened and the Rwanda genocide happened. People were like, oh, shit, we don't have a court for that. We should create special tribunals only to judge what happened in those cases.
Okay.
And now kind of the ICC has kind of inherited some of the vestiges of those two courts which have disappeared.
Gotcha. Okay. Second question, okay? I'm more familiar with this now. Have you read the Goldstone report? Or are you familiar with the Goldstone report?
No. What's it about?
So there was a military operation from 2008 to 2009 called Operation Cast Lead in the Gaza Strip between Israel and Palestine. And afterwards, there was a UN fact-finding mission commissioned by the United Nations, obviously, and it ended up being called the Goldstone Report. But it seems like, so a question is, I don't know how common this is for UN things. I've only read, this is the only thing I've studied in any level of depth and read a paper in response to. Why would it be, or how common is it sometimes that you'll see like reports commissioned by the UN where they write about things? Fuck, this is gonna be hard if you haven't read the actual report. But what is the opinion, or what happens when the UN publishes things or does things where the application of international law is like clearly inappropriate or clearly incorrect? And then we can go into specific examples if you're interested in that. Like, how do you like decipher that? Would you say the international law changes, or?
Well, I mean, let's go from very abstract to very concrete.
Sure.
Abstractly, there are only three sources. I think that's our first conversation was there are three formal sources, right? So treaties, custom, and general principles. UN reports or UN whatever is not a source.
Yeah.
That's first.
Well, sure, it's not a source, but it might be like it could be an interpretation such that like if 50 million UN fact-finding missions said a particular thing, couldn't that become a source of customary international law?
No, not of customary international law. I mean, let's go to the second step.
Go.
Yeah, second step are in the main article here is Article 38 of the Statute of the Court, which lists of the ICJ lists the formal sources. You've
Okay.
got those three, and then it lists the subsidiary sources, which are sources you might make recourse to when you have to interpret the formal sources, the formal free sources, and you don't have a clear answer. Then you might go there. One of those is judgment by international courts. So judgment by international courts might be binding on the parties, but it's not a source in itself. But you can use those as kind of an authoritative subsidiary source to interpret the formal sources.
Okay.
And then there's a second one, which is kind of vague. It says something along the lines of the writings of the most prestigious publicists and like the doctrine. So we're talking here academics, separate opinion, or like dissident opinion by judges in international courts. That would be another one. And probably here you could include, UN experts would certainly be in this category. Right. So what we're saying here is there's a formal source. Here would be, you're probably talking about international humanitarian law. So it's either custom or a Geneva Convention or additional protocol. You are interpreting that, or either interpreting it or, assessing whether it applies to a particular case or not and stuff. So interpreting it in abstract or interpreting it in a concrete case. And then you go to the writings of reputable sources. Here you have a reputable source, one of those writings of publicists, etc., in Article 38 of the ICJ statute. Of course, it might be wrong. Like, there's no question it might be wrong. I haven't read this one.
Sure.
Any international court that would have to apply international law would not be content with checking this report. It would check other stuff, and it could check whether the report was correct in its assessment.
Okay.
So it's not binding, but by any means.
Gotcha.
More than that, I would say, of course, weight is given to them, especially if they agree with almost every other, let's say, authoritative source.
Authoritative
sources in the matter. Like
authoritative.
This report agreed with the Human Rights Council, and then it also agreed with many. Agreed with an international judgment on the matter, like the European Court of Human Rights, whatever. Even if the European Court of Human Rights is not does not have jurisdiction on international humanitarian law, but you know what I mean. Okay. You can apply some legal reasoning analogically from field to field.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
So
aside from that, if you want to go delve into the whatever you think is mistaken, because I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. I was just kind of curious on that
Don't
in general.
So scary.
I think basically for a lot of the big things for the Goldstone report that I read there was a paper that had a lot of issues with the application of international law of armed conflict stuff, basically, and a lot of the issues challenging some of the Goldstone conclusions has to do with like the lex specialis or whatever, in terms of when you're trying to say that civilian deaths constitute a war crime. Like it's not enough to say that a house was blown up and in an investigation afterwards there was nothing found. Therefore, it must be a war crime because it's not that's not enough to prove that the really special mens rea or whatever of the constituent element that makes it a war crime, right? That you have to have that intention of targeting and killing civilians without having any knowledge at the time of there being, like a military target or whatever present. And apparently this paper does that a lot. So that's like the main criticism I see. That's one of the main criticisms in terms of criticizing the application of international law there.
Well,
but
I mean, again, at this point you probably know more about international humanitarian law than me if you have delved deep into Geneva Conventions. But what you said there are other cases where you might have a war crime while not intentionally targeting civilians, right? So for instance, you've got, of course you know about this, principle of military necessity, principle of proportionality, principle of distinction, etc. Those are the main strokes of broad strokes of international maritime law. Right. So you might target a building in which you know there are civilians. You are not targeting civilians because you are not bombing the building because there are civilians, but you are bombing the building despite the fact that there are civilians, right?
Yeah.
And depending on whatever assessment we do of the principle of proportionality as applied to that situation, like let's imagine it is a building that is double use, right? Military, but also civilian. But maybe the assessment we do of the principle of proportionality in that instance says, no, you cannot bomb that building because way too many civilians are there compared to the military benefit, the military advantage to be obtained by bombing the building.
Yeah.
Well, you are A, not targeting the civilians, but B, you are committing a war crime.
Sure.
If that makes sense.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. Correct. I think one of the big things when you're trying to assess these war crimes, so if you look into the ICC, they've got like a separate, I don't know if you would call it a separate journal or a separate statute for like elements of crime, basically.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of defining whether these war crimes have been committed, the essential way of determining it is to figure out information available at the time the act is said to have been committed. That like a retrospective analysis can never be used to determine the lex specialis, the mens rea of whether a war crime was committed. So for instance, it could be the case, this would be tragic, but however tragic, it could be the case that for some reason military commanders believe he has highly good intelligence, that there are 5 million bombs in a building and that there are no civilians present. They go to bomb the building, and then afterwards it turns out there were absolutely no bombs present, the intelligence was bad, and there were 500 civilians inside, yet no war crime has actually been committed because the decision to target that building wasn't done just to kill civilians. It was done at that end. So you have to go by like the available information at the time in order to determine if a war crime had been committed.
Yes. However,
Get him, Dragon.
First of all, terminological distinction. You're mentioning lex specialis here. Lex specialis is something else. I think you mean dolus specialis. So special intent. Right?
Oh, okay, my bad. You're right. Lex specialis is different. Sorry, go ahead. What is the difference between these two?
Yeah. Number two is special intent, or dolus specialis is required for genocide, for instance. I don't believe it's required for war crimes. Like, you don't have to intend the result of what you're doing. You have to, at a minimum, be aware of the foreseeable results of your actions. So that's not dolus specialis, that's just dolus eventualis, for instance, which is another form of intent that is not special intent, like intent to produce the result for a specific purpose. That's kind of a very, very, very high degree of intent we ask for the genocide.
Okay, that's dolus specialis. And then what is lex specialis? I'm sorry, can you explain?
Yeah, lex specialis is it's a category, a type of law that is more specific than a general law. So, for instance, when we have a conflict of laws, even in the domestic legal system, we have perhaps a general, let's say, I'm going to make an analogy here, a general tax law that sets out the main principles of taxation.
Okay.
And then separately, you have another law that is specifically deals with VAT. You have the VAT?
We don't, but I know what you mean, value-added tax.
Consumption tax, yes. And then both of those laws are incompatible in one aspect. So then you would say the consumption tax law is more specific. Therefore, it should be applied, let's say, over the more general law. That's one principle of Roman law we have inherited from the Roman Empire.
Okay.
Where when you have to decide whether to apply the more general or the more specific, you apply the more specific. Also, there's another principle in that area, which is lex posterior, meaning if there are two laws, one is was passed after the other, you apply the one that was passed after, as you are considering the latter one to derogate from the previous one.
Okay.
That's So returning to the case that you mentioned, the war crimes. Second distinction that I would like to do is, like, the ICC judges crimes, war crimes, right?
Yeah.
Which, again, when you hear the word crime, think individuals.
Yep.
Right.
Yes. ICC is always individual. War crimes.
Yes.
Article 8, Rome
Yes.
Statute, always individual. Yeah.
And criminal law operates in different.
Oh God.
Let's say in a different way in many aspects than the law of the responsibility of states. So you might find that in a particular instance, no individual can be convicted because of their knowledge at the time or their intent or lack thereof at the time to commit a certain act. However, you could paradoxically hold the state responsible because the state is not held to be a criminal in the same sense as an individual. You must prove, whatever knowledge or mental state or intent. The state is not subject to those rules. The state is like functions more like, I'm going to make an analogy again here, like a company where you don't need to prove that Coca-Cola had an intent to produce a faulty can for Coca-Cola to be liable for producing a faulty can if you
faulty
there's
can?
damage done to you because of the faulty can. I don't know if the analogy makes sense.
I kind of get the analogy, but I understand the international law. So, like, if we're talking about, for instance, I think it's found under the Geneva Conventions, where you have an obligation to protect your civilian population. There might not be like, fuck, I wish I could remember the article. Is this through? I can't know if the search is through collapse text or not. But you might have an obligation under the Geneva Conventions to protect your population. But so you might be in violation of that as a state. But there's not like an individual criminal, aspect being committed by an individual that you can hold them accountable. There might be. So for instance, if you find somebody, like tell somebody, hey, you're not allowed to leave this house. That might be eligible for a particular violation of an individual law under international law, and the state itself might also be guilty of violation of international law by not taking the proper, due procedure or whatever to protect the civilian population. But you think this is a separate thing?
Yeah, exactly. So returning to your example, let's use your example, right? You said there was information that was faulty at the time that said there are bombs in a house and we're bombing the house, but there were no bombs, so there was no military necessity, but you didn't know that at the time, right? That was your example.
Yeah.
Right. So imagine the state internally has a structure such that the intelligence services have a very, very low threshold for passing on information that might be dubious or its source might be fake. Right? So a rumor is enough to intelligence services of that state to pass on that information as solid to the actual military officers that have to decide whether to bomb that house. Then the military officers order the strike, believing the intelligence to be solid. Right.
Yeah.
Those officers couldn't be held responsible for a war crime because they lacked the mental state, they lacked the knowledge, etc. But the state could be held liable, not criminally liable because the state is an individual, but could be held liable before general norms of international law.
Yeah. Because the state has failed to protect the enemy civilian populations, people that are forced to combat or whatever, from unnecessary things, right? Principle of distinction and everything. They're not doing what their due diligence, right? Yeah. So if a country makes available to its commanders the only weapons it makes available are like cluster bombs, commanders that are choosing targets and then firing these weapons. If that's like all that's made available to them, it's possible that maybe they wouldn't be charged with war crimes, but the state itself, that might not be the best example. The state itself obviously wouldn't be doing what it can to conduct warfare in a good way, so the state might be held responsible, even if not an individual is. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
So in this context, I don't know about this report, the Goldstone report, but if the claim was that, if the report claims that Israel is liable for XYZ, and then at the same time you're saying, oh, but an individual couldn't be held responsible for XYZ, it's not necessarily the case that those two things have the same answer.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the issue with the main issue with the report is that it seems to do a retrospective analysis of targeting, like damage done afterwards, and then it tries to make claims of specific claims relating to war crimes after the after assessing damage where the target has been destroyed. In the middle.
Oh, so it
morning.
directly makes claims about war crimes, not
some more
Israel's
Naruto.
responsibility for breaching the Geneva Conventions, but
Naruto.
individuals doing crimes.
Yes, I believe so. I have to go back and reread the paper, but I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that was one of the big, qualms this paper had. Yeah.
Because I mean, in the latter case, I